Grant, I said quietly. Of course they knew each other. The words hung heavy in the air, laced with disgust. Men like Victor Grant always knew the right people. The captain, the prosecutor, the judge from the golf club. They built networks of protection, invisible walls that shielded them while their victims drowned in silence. Take me to her, I ordered. Officer Nolan hesitated. His eyes darted to the closed door at the end of the hall. Behind that door, I could already imagine them, Captain Reed and Grant, sipping coffee, sealing the official version of events, rewriting the truth before it even had a chance to breathe. Now, officer, I said again, sharper this time. Nolan swallowed and nodded. We walked down the dim corridor, the sound of our footsteps echoing against the cold, gray walls. Each echo was a ghost of 1,000 cases I had once presided over, 1,000 women I had tried to save. But this time, I wasn't walking for a stranger. I was walking for my daughter. Nolan opened the door. Lily sat in a plastic chair, folded in on herself, arms around her knees like a child hiding from a storm. When she lifted her head, her eyes were red, hollow, empty. But the moment she saw me, something inside her broke, and she ran. Mom, she whispered, collapsing into my arms. I held her tightly. I could feel her body trembling, her heart racing like a trapped bird. And then, something colder, something that made my stomach twist. Under her sleeve, I felt the edge of a bruise. Not fresh, old, faded. Lily, I whispered, pulling her sleeve up gently. She tried to resist, but it was too late. I saw them, dark fingerprints climbing her arm, bruises in the shape of hands, fading but still visible. A map of violence. How long? I asked, barely able to get the words out. She shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. I couldn't tell you, Mom. You've spent your whole life helping women like me. I didn't want you to think I'd failed, that I was stupid or blind. I closed my eyes, the ache in her voice cutting through every piece of armor I'd built over decades. I held her tighter. You didn't fail, I whispered. He did. The system is failing you now, but I won't. When I turned, Nolan was still standing at the doorway, eyes down, uncertain. Officer, I said, straightening. I need to see the report. I need Victor Grant in custody. And I need Captain Reed. Now. He hesitated, then said quietly, Judge Mercer, I remember you. 10 years ago, the Donovan case. You issued a restraining order that saved my sister's life. The silence that followed was heavy, filled with old memories and new pain. I didn't know Ms. Mercer was your daughter when they brought her in, Nolan continued. Grant arrived first, calm, bleeding, convincing. Said she attacked him without reason, that she needed psychiatric help. Captain Reed knows him from the golf club. They were having coffee when your daughter was brought in. Each word hit me like a hammer. The system, the same one I had defended my entire life, had turned its back on my child. Where is he now? I asked. Nolan hesitated, but the answer was already written on his face. Later that night, I stood across from Victor Grant. The air between us crackled with silence. He tried to hold my gaze, but his confidence wavered. I know how women survive men like you, I said evenly. They always find ways to protect themselves. They leave traces, small, hidden truths. And my daughter, she's smarter than you think. I paused, watching his expression twist. Bring it now, I said into my phone before hanging up. Grant's face paled. What flash drive? He asked, voice trembling. The one with the recordings, Victor, I said, smiling coldly. 3 months of them. Every time you raised your hand. Every time you said she was worthless. Every time you told her no one would believe her. It was a bluff. I didn't know for certain that the flash drive existed. But I knew patterns. I knew survivors. And judging from the fear draining the color from his face, I knew I was right. He stammered something, trying to recover. I leaned closer. You underestimated her, I whispered. Just like every man who thinks power is protection. But she's not afraid of you anymore. And neither am I. Nolan stood silent behind me, tense. Captain Reed, too, said nothing, his face pale as the truth settled in the room like smoke. Maybe I'm bluffing, I added, turning to leave. But even if I am, you're sweating like a man who's already guilty. The hospital was quiet when I returned to see Lily. The first light of dawn crept through the blinds. The wound? I asked gently. She looked away. I tried to stop him. He cut himself in the struggle. It was barely a scratch, but when he saw the blood, he smiled. He said, Now I'll go to the police. I'll tell them you attacked me. They'll arrest you, and you'll learn your place." Her voice cracked. He called them himself. By the time they arrived, he'd already rehearsed his story. He was calm, composed, and I was shaking. I knew they'd believe him. Jordan reached out, squeezing her sister's hand. "But he didn't count on Mom," she said softly. I smiled faintly. No one ever does. I touched the flash drive in my pocket. My fabricated evidence turned prophecy. "I'm going back to the precinct," I told them. "He's not walking out of there today." "Mom, he has a lawyer," Lily said quickly. "Randall Quinn, the best in the city. He called him before you even got there." I nodded slowly. "He's not getting out," I said with absolute certainty. "Not this time." I kissed her forehead. "You're not alone anymore." Then I left. Outside, the world was just waking. The streets glowed faintly pink and gold. People went about their ordinary lives, unaware that somewhere between the courthouse and the hospital, a mother was preparing for war. When I reached the precinct, Nolan was waiting. His face said everything before he spoke. "Judge," he said, lowering his voice. "Randall Quinn's pressing hard. He's threatening to sue the department. Says Grant's the real victim. Claims we're biased because of your involvement." I tightened my grip on the flash drive, feeling its edges cut into my palm. "Where are they?" "Same office," Nolan said. "Captain Reed's in there too. He looks shaken. Quinn's tearing down every argument." I took a slow breath. "Then we build new ones." I straightened my coat, wiped the exhaustion from my face, and walked toward the office door. Each step steady, unhurried, like a judge approaching her own courtroom. Inside that room were three men who believed they could manipulate truth. They'd soon learn that truth, once cornered, bites back. And this time, it had my face. The office was filled with the low hum of machines and the faint scent of coffee gone cold. The cybercrimes unit worked in silence, their screens flashing with folders, emails, files, and the digital remains of a monster. On Victor Grant's computer, they found everything. Hidden directories, password-protected archives, folders disguised with innocent names like invoices and projects that, when opened, revealed hours of footage, recordings, photographs, messages. It wasn't just evidence. It was a map of control, a ritual. He had recorded every threat, every manipulation, as if cataloging his own power. And worse, he had built a file on Lily. A complete dossier, fabricated text messages, forged emails, medical records altered to make her seem unstable. Every lie carefully prepared in case she ever found the courage to escape. I felt my stomach twist as I scrolled. The cruelty was deliberate, almost surgical. In one chain of emails, Victor and his lawyer Randall Quinn discussed damage control, strategies to paint Lily as an unfit mother, an unreliable witness, a woman prone to hysteria. It wasn't just abuse. It was warfare. A young technician approached me, her eyes wide behind the reflection of her screen. "Ma'am," she said quietly, "this computer contains evidence of multiple federal crimes: extortion, cyberstalking, non-consensual recordings. This man he's dangerous." I nodded slowly, voice steady even though my heart was burning. "How long until we can extract everything?" "For full analysis, a few days," she said. "But enough for preliminary charges, maybe a few hours." I stepped out to the balcony to breathe. From above, the city looked deceptively calm. The streets below were waking up, headlights sliding through the fog, bakeries opening, morning workers crossing intersections. It was almost 6 a.m. The world was starting its day while mine still hadn't ended. My phone buzzed. "Detective Cole. Judge Mercer. He's demanding to see a judge. Randall Quinn is filing a motion for habeas corpus. Claims the detention is unlawful." I let out a bitter laugh. "Tell Randall we've found evidence of premeditated abuse, extortion, and digital crimes. His client won't be walking out today or any day soon." Cole hesitated. "Then you'll want to hear this." When we mentioned the search warrant, Victor lost control. He started yelling that his private files were being violated, practically confessed there was incriminating material before we even questioned him. "Record everything," I said sharply. "Every word. His own arrogance will hang him." Miles joined me on the balcony. The sunrise glowed against his badge. "You've done it," he murmured. "He's cornered." "Not yet," I replied. "The system has loopholes, and men like him know how to slip through them." But deep down, I felt it, a shift. A turning tide. Later that morning, the courtroom. The courtroom was heavy with expectation, the air thick with whispers and camera shutters. All rise, the bailiff called. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Sterling presiding. I stood. The weight of fatigue pressed on me, but my spine was straight, my expression calm. Judge Sterling entered, an old colleague, fair and incorruptible. His presence alone was a statement of order. The state versus Victor Grant, the clerk announced. Aisha Khan stood at the prosecution table. Her face was calm, but her eyes blazed with controlled fury. Your Honor, the state requests detention without bail. The defendant is charged with aggravated assault, felony battery, continuous domestic abuse, threats, extortion, cyberstalking, and non-consensual recordings. He poses a significant threat to the victim and the public. Randall Quinn rose smoothly, his voice polished and cold. Your Honor, my client is a respected businessman with deep community ties. No prior criminal record. Detention without bail is unnecessary and punitive. Judge Sterling's gaze flicked to Aisha. Prosecutor, what evidence supports these claims? Without hesitation, Aisha opened her briefcase. Your Honor, we have audio recordings of direct threats, medical documentation of multiple injuries over time, neighbor testimonies confirming ongoing abuse, and digital evidence seized from the defendant's computer, outlining a deliberate plan of manipulation, discreditation, and coercion. She passed a folder forward. The courtroom fell silent as the judge read. The sound of pages turning echoed like a heartbeat. Finally, he looked up. Mr. Grant, stand. Victor stood. Gone was the charming mask, the smooth smile. His eyes darted around like a trapped animal. I have reviewed the evidence, Sterling began.